I'm sorry for the poor lighting. It's like a really crappy day. It's raining, so it's like really dark in here. So I'm gonna switch my camera so I can show you kind of the start of the lesson, so it gives people a little bit more chance to come on to the stream. Okay, so bear with me real quick. Okay. So I went and took some layout paper. You can even use like plain old tracing paper. And what I did was just for like a diagram, and so I knew where I wanted, the shading and the highlighting, and so I can kind of show you guys like the process. I basically just put it over her face, traced her face, and then marked where I wanted the highlighting and the shadows. So basically, your highlighting is going to be all around the eyes, mostly around the bottom. And then because she's facing, it's like a profile view, it's going to be highlighted all the way down. Hang on real quick because you guys are a weird way. There we go. Okay, that should be better. Your natural highlighting, any like I was saying, would be in this case you would leave a highlight down the whole center of the face, and then you would highlight under the eye. You would highlight near the chin, near the bottom of the face towards the chin, but the chin would be a little bit shadowed. And then you would highlight in the middle of her neck, and the shading would be towards the back and towards the front. Under in this little crevice here, that would be heavily shaded. And then where your hairline is, all of this will be darker, just because naturally your hair is casting a shadow on your face. So all this would be darker, and then you would go lighter as you go in. Under the eyebrow will be shaded. If you want like that contoured cheekbone look, this would be shaded. And basically you would just blend it all together to give it like one solid look, so that it's not, so that it'll look put together basically. And then like the same thing with the ear, around under like that lip, that would be shadowed. Towards probably like the middle-ish part will be highlighted, and then inside definitely this would be shadowed with like a little bit of a highlight where the beginning of the ear is, but like to give it depth, like it's going in, you would definitely shade it. So that's basically kind of like a little rundown. So you would always highlight around the eyes, the middle of your chin, along the crest of your nose. I say like the crest, it's not really like the bridge, but it's like the whole length, the middle of your nose. In between the lip and nose, that little like middle part. And then your middle of your forehead. And then your shadowed part would be, in your eyelids, under your eyebrow, your cheekbones, near your hairline, the nape of your neck, like underneath your chin where your face meets your neck, and then alongside the sides of the nose would be shaded. So this is a very good way, to practice, where you want it to be. Again, Google Images, you can find different contouring pages or pictures, and it can give you a better idea of where your highlight and your shadows naturally should be. So I'm just going to move that aside, and we'll get started on this lovely lady's little face. If you remember from the last one, this is who this is what I did for the hair tutorial. And you can see that I never got a chance to finish her, but we're going to take care of her face right now. They're kids playing outside. It is raining. My goodness. And this is why kids are always sick. Okay. Sorry. They're like yelling outside. It's like so distracting. All right. So, yes, again, the infamous Prismacolor is making an appearance in my videos. I don't like Prismacolor, but I wanted to go for kind of like a lighter look with her skin, and the Polychromos, they have really good skin tone colors, but even the lightest one still can get a little dark if you put a little bit too much pressure. And their other flesh tones, like they're literally called dark flesh, medium flesh, light flesh. They're still really dark, and it's almost like kind of like a pinkish tone. And I really didn't want to go for that look, but I had a Prismacolor that was a light peach, so I figured that would be really good. I'm also going. That's going to be our lightest color here. Where I'll leave highlights, I'll almost leave those highlighted areas on the face like white. So this is going to basically be like my all over base color, besides, the highlighted areas. And then the next level is peach, 939, light peach is 927. This is going to be where you start getting your midtones and kind of working your way into the lighter areas and kind of building up where you're going to want your shadowing. And then a little tip I used on another YouTube video is using a lighter brown, or just like a brown tone in general, depending on, how light you want. You go for a lighter brown. If you want to be a darker tone, then you go for a darker brown, as your shadow. It gives it a nice little bit of dimension and definition when you use, different colors, different like layering. It gives it a nice shape to the face. So I'm using sienna brown for my heaviest shadow. And then also as well, gray works as a really good shading tool. So it doesn't give it that in your like normal like natural shadowing of your face. You kind of have like that bluish, grayish, shadow. If you were to look like at your face in like low light or higher light, like where you would see your shadows, the gray makes for a really cool, natural, shaded look over the peach colors. So we're going to be using gray as a nice definition. And then of course white. I kind of use white to kind of like buff out anything, and also accentuate the highlights. That's in Prismacolor. I should have mentioned the gray is, I don't have gray in any of my Prismas. It's so weird. You don't get grays up until like I think it's maybe 72 you start getting grays, but before that, like I think I have like the 48 set, and then I have random open stock. You don't get any grays. So I have a cool gray. Cool gray is usually what I use when I shade skin tones. Warm gray is kind of, I don't know, I don't like the way warm grays look. I like how a cold gray looks as a shadow. So that's a Polychromos. It's a Cold Grey 3. And those are the colors we're going to be working with. I also, I may or may not throw in a pan pastel to kind of smooth things out. I normally use like a white to accentuate highlights, and then I use, this one's my favorite, it's Burnt Sienna Tint. This is what you could use as your base layer if you didn't feel like, working with the pencils like the whole time. But I'm not going to do that in this video. I'll do that in another one, but just can kind of give you an idea of which ones I use. I also have a few other ones coming so that I have like more to work with. Those are just the two that I had, or the one that I had, and I also have Burnt Sienna, but that's more of like a reddish brown, so I didn't really want to go for that with this picture. So let's get started. We're going to start with the light peach. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do that as like kind of like a base layer. Just kind of around the whole face. I'm kind of leaving a white outline along the front of her face. It's a very thin white area, and I'm gonna like pull it out towards the inside of her face. And as I build color, you'll be able to see the highlight a little better. It's probably going to be really hard to see in the camera just because I'm working with such light skin tones. But I'll do my best to try to get this to show up. And I can always hold it up to the camera and see if it... Okay, so... basically, I'm just, again, adding a base layer. I'm like barely putting any pressure down around here, just because that's where I want my highlight to be under the eye. And then I'll kind of go in a little bit, normal pressure, where I want the shadow to be. Almost like her contour. If you contour makeup, you'll be able to color skin tones. I feel like it would be the same thing, you're just using a pencil on paper, not skin. I personally don't know how to contour. So it's kind of shocking how I know how to, I'm able to do skin tones. But I don't know, I don't really use makeup all that much. I mean, I use a little bit of foundation, but I don't go like through the lengths that some women do to contour their makeup. I mean, it looks great. I don't have time for that. I'm a mother of two. I don't need to contour. Okay, so what I didn't take into account is her earring, because I didn't add the earring in my tracing. So basically where her earring is, you would make a shadow because it's falling against her skin. So you can kind of like create a drop shadow around her earring if you really wanted to. You don't have to, just gives it a little bit more realistic look. So I'll lay a little bit more pencil than usual, just so I know that I'm gonna shade there. And you're also gonna shade near where her ear is, and obviously where her hair is. So again, I'll lay down a little bit heavier so that I know that that's where it's gonna be darker. Skin tones, while they are kind of simple once you get kind of used to how highlighting and shading works, it does take a little bit of time to get a smooth look. So kind of bear with me while I, work with this one color so far. I feel like you guys probably aren't really seeing anything. Just because of how bright it is. Yeah, because I'm looking on the computer screen, and the computer screen doesn't really look like, it looks like it's just white. So if I bring this up a little bit more, you can kind of see where the light peach in general is really, really light. So it's already hard to see. So you can kind of see where I'm starting to add, where the shadowing is going to be up near her hairline. I kind of didn't really bother like around the other areas just because I'm just gonna use the other colors. But you can kind of see it a little bit more, I think. You'll definitely be able to start seeing it when I start adding other colors. So just try to bear with me while I get this base layer down. Light peach is just such a difficult color to try to get down. I haven't even seen how many people are watching. Yeah, we have a few people. I'm getting made fun of by my friend Jeanette for using Prismacolors because she knows that how much I despise them. But I really have been using them a lot more, and I think I don't know, like they are nice pencils. I don't know, I just really don't prefer them. But I kind of didn't have a choice here because I needed some good skin tone colors. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna start going in with my next shade. We're gonna come back with the peach in a second. So it's starting to get a little bit of definition. From what I can see, I know it sucks in the camera, just because of how bright the light is. But you'll really start being able to see it pop, I hope. Now that I'm using peach. Peach is definitely a little bit darker. So basically I'm going to start coming with my mid-tone, shading where I want it, and then coming in a little bit lighter. And just adding, some more definition. The peach is kind of going to act like my highlight as well. So it'll really start, I hope, popping up. Again, you're gonna always go darker where the hair is, just because that's where your shadow is. Around her nose, you'll have a shadow as well. Especially on the sides of her nose, there will be a shadow there. And you can see how it really, brings shape to her nose by bringing in the mid-tone, kind of like almost like drawing it in, but not really. Okay, so I'm going to really lighten up here because in this area is where you want to highlight, right around her eye. And you kind of can blend that in some more with your peach as well. And then you kind of want like a little bit of a highlight right in here, right before it meets the bottom of the face. So I'm just gonna start really lightening up here. And if you feel like, you're going a little bit too far with your contour, which I feel like I just did, you can always take your eraser and kind of go in and, kind of lighten it back up. And then I'm just going to go back in with my light peach again, just to kind of tone that out again. Okay, I'm going to go back in with my peach again. I think I fixed it. I'm just, again, using light, small circular motions so I can have, you know, the most control with where I want the highlight at. Okay, so hopefully in the screen, you can kind of, I feel like it's really not showing up for some reason. Let me try doing that and see if it helps a little bit. I just feel like it's really not coming up that great in the screen, but it's starting to look really good on in person. I'm hoping when the darker colors start coming in, it'll really start, you know, making the lighter colors pop. Sorry if I'm not talking that much. It's kind of just like very mundane. And I get really that, and I get really like focused, so I forget that I'm on camera. I was just kind of making the highlight a little bit more noticeable. Okay. So I'm gonna be short right as soon as I, you know, kind of make sure that I'm getting everything. I'm gonna move on to the next tone. I'm really hoping that this is gonna make this pop a little bit more with the darker shade. Okay. So let's go start back with the hair. I'm gonna go ahead and, you know what, I'll show you how I do this with a pan pastel. Hopefully this doesn't ruin this. So if it does, I'm truly sorry that I just like ruined the whole tutorial, but I'm just gonna use a little bit of the burnt sienna tint and the sponge that I came with, and you can use it almost as like a blush, and it kind of blends everything together. I'm just gonna go ahead and kind of, you know, blend everything together. And then I'm going to go back in with my brown again and start doing my shadows. Again, her eyelid, that's just going to be a natural shadow. And then under her eyebrow is going to be a natural shadow. And then again, I'm going to blend that with the light peach. So it's really starting to come together. Obviously, I have a lot of layers that I need to do to kind of bring it all together. Again, skin tones takes a lot of patience, getting it to where, you know, you want it to be, and getting just a very smooth, blended effect so that doesn't look so splotchy. Almost like if you were putting makeup on, you wouldn't want, you know, to look uneven, I guess. So, it definitely takes some patience with, you know, layering and blending your colors. Um, your lighter tones also are, you know, useful for burnishing the colors in. So what I mean by that is making, like, really smoothing everything out and filling everything in. So that helps too, to get a very smooth look. Just, you know, burnishing everything together with a lighter color. And then I'm going to go in with my grays now, or my gray, sorry. It just gives it it gives it a very different look. I don't know how it's gonna show up against the brown. There we go. Especially with being that it's a polychromos on top of a wax base pencil. I'm not really, it's not, I mean, it's going on, it's just not, it's not the same effect that I usually get. But it's going on there. So again, it's just like, gives it a very nice shaded effect on the skin. Actually looks way better than I ever imagined. This is only like probably the fourth time I've ever done skin tones, and those times have been very spanned out. So actually last night, kind of practicing was the first time I've done it in a little while. So I'm actually really amazed that it came out this well. Okay. So I'm kind of happy with how her face looks right now. I'm gonna, let's see. As for her lips, I'm just gonna go and give her kind of like a purplish lip. Nothing fancy. I'm just kind of gonna, kind of draw in her lip. And just kind of match. I just wanted her to match, her hair. I'll put in a little bit of like a flesh tone to it too. And that's really all there is to it. So really, again, just, figuring out where you want that highlight, where you want your shadowing to be, how you want to contour their face. It really is all about the position. So say like if this was facing onward, like she was facing you and looking out, then the whole like middle of her face would be highlighted, and then outwards would be, where her shadowing would be. And just in certain points in the middle of her face where there would be a natural shadow falling from, like, her nose. Her nose is sticking out, so it would cause a shadow under here, and just like a natural shadow on your chin, and etc. So it's very, very simple. Again, like I said, all depends on the profile of the person you're working on, and just figuring out, again, your highlighting and your shadowing, and you can Google images to figure that out. That's what I did, and it turned out okay, I guess. I mean, it's not the best skin work that I've seen. I've seen way better than mine, but for me, this is good. I'm actually very proud of myself for kind of stepping out of my comfort zone. I'm not really big on people, I guess. I like animals. I like, scenery and nature and stuff. I'm not really that big of a fan of coloring in people. So that was definitely a big step. And so one more thing, since we're pretty much done. Okay, let me answer. So I have not been looking at your comments, so let me look to see what you guys have been saying. Yeah, so Karen said, I thought I was doing skin tones wrong by layering. I'm glad it does take layering. I thought people just did it quickly. Yes. There are some people that, rush their skin when they're coloring it. But, I mean, you will definitely notice, if you were to put side by side someone who kind of did like one layer to where someone did multiple layers on a picture that they did, you would just immediately see the difference. There's just so much more boldness and smoothness to it if you layer, and it just really it looks so much more put together when you build up your layers. That's with anything, really. Layering is very important when it comes to getting, that smooth, bold color that you want. Jeanette asks, where did you get the idea to use gray? It looks so natural. So when you do shadowing and shading in general, you usually use black, right? So you don't want to use black on a person because black shadowing, it makes it look very not realistic. It's just very dramatic looking. Black is just too heavy against the skin. So when you're in the light, and depending on your skin tone, you'll kind of see that your shadow on your face is kind of like a brownish, or like a brownish, grayish, bluish color. It's not, dead on black shadow on your face. So a cool gray is what I found looks, best as the shadowing. It looks so natural when you use a gray. My gray, I wish I had a gray polychromos, or a gray Prisma, sorry. I have silver, so I didn't want to use that. if I were to have used all Polychromos, it probably would have came up better. But it didn't really work that well on top of the Prismas, just because the Prismas are wax and the Polychromos don't really work that well, in my opinion, with the Prismas. So it kind of like wasn't laying down on top of all that wax. So if you really work the pan pastels into the paper, they don't need to be fixed because they don't transfer onto the opposite page when the book's closed. So that's the beauty of pan pastels, and that's kind of why they're a little bit expensive, just because you don't need fixative with it. They're not like, they're creamy. They're very creamy. They're not chalk, so they don't just like kind of brush away or transfer. You just, as long as you really work them into the page, you're fine. You don't need any fixative. So yeah, if anyone has any more questions, now would probably be the time to let me know. I can always come back to it if you want me to. But basically, what I wanted to show you all was this color wheel that I got. It's amazing. It's basically changed how I've colored. And that's what we're going to be talking about next week, next Wednesday. Color harmony and using a color wheel and choosing your colors and how many you should have to not make it too busy, your picture. So let me look at you all again. I hope you enjoy these classes. If you have any topics you want me to cover, you can let me know. Either message me on Facebook, you can PM me on my fan page, Coloring by Courtney, coloring spelled the British way, and contact me however if you want a certain lesson to be covered. I have a lot of them already, so if you suggest one, I might already have it on the list. So yeah, just let me know if you're enjoying these videos. Once this isn't live, it'll be archived, so all these comments that you're writing go away, unfortunately. So if you need anything, you can leave a comment on the video, like the video, share the video. I want more people to see that I'm doing these lessons for everyone. They are free. But if you enjoy them and you're learning something, just think about supporting me on my Patreon page. It's just a nice little way, kind of like a tip jar, to show that you appreciate everything that I do on a daily basis. If there's any more comments real quick, because they're coming in now. Sharon Stone asked, can you use pan pastels to do the entire face? Yes, you can. It takes a little bit more control with your tools that come with the pan pastels. But yes, it's definitely achievable, and it's really nice looking when you get it, down to a science. It looks really nice, and it looks very blended, and is so smooth looking when you do it with all pan pastels. So I'm actually really excited to get all my other skin tones that are coming in. So yeah, you can definitely do that. Pam says, will you do a pan pastel lesson sometime in the future? Yes, that's going to be not like a live lesson. That's just going to be a normal tutorial video that I do on pan pastels. Just because with that kind of thing, I don't like doing it live, because I want to make sure that everything's turning out right. With these live lessons, there's always something that could go wrong. So with something like that, I would definitely want to make sure that it's like the best video it can be. So I want to make sure that the result that I get is what I want to put out to you guys. So yes, that'll definitely be a video. It won't be live though. It'll just be a normal tutorial video. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Again, subscribe so you don't miss anything. Like, share, comment, support me on Patreon. Don't support me on Patreon. I don't care. You can still view these videos. It's just a nice little gesture. And I will see you all next week when we talk about color harmony. Alright guys, thanks. Bye.